Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Selling Fort Collins podcast. I am here with Emily Kohan. Emily, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Emily is the head coach of the CSU volleyball team. It's a big deal. A local celebrity. My wife just ran into her and was very excited. So really excited to have this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I have loved volleyball for all of my life. It was the sport that I fell in love with when I was young, and to get to do it for a living makes for an easy job. So.
Right. And so take us back there. So where'd you grow up? How'd you get into volleyball?
Yeah, I am from a tiny town in Colorado called Swink, Colorado.
Where's that at?
Southeast Colorado. And so then people are like, where? So about an hour east of Pueblo, about an hour from the Kansas and Oklahoma borders. My dad's a cattle rancher down there.
Still to this day.
Still to this day. So pretty non-traditional path to end up as a D1 athlete. I graduated with 23 people in my class. And I kind of got, I'm going to say, discovered when I was in high school from a club. We were playing at the state tournament in a little 2A volleyball, right? And some club directors were like, who's that kid? And so they convinced my parents more than me to drive 2 hours to play club volleyball. And so I started playing on a nationally competitive club team and started getting recruited and ended up at the University of Iowa. And that was a really great transition for me. I'm from a small town, and it's a great college town similar to Fort Collins. And playing in the Big Ten was a really special experience to get to wear some of those historical uniforms and be in those facilities. And so played and then fell in love with the coaching side of it. Knew I didn't want my career to end when I graduated. And
when did you know you wanted to be a coach?
My mom has a picture when I was in second grade. We had to make a wheel of our life and what our goals were. And so in second grade, I put like go to college, and then I said, be a sports coach as my job. Wow. And so I've always known my coaches in my life are some of my favorite people, biggest influencers, biggest mentors. And I wanted to do that for other people.
Great mom.
Yeah. I still have it. I have it hanging in my office.
Take a step back for a second. 23 people total in your class. Yep. And you just happened to be playing volleyball and were discovered. So you had to really stand out.
Yeah. I have an older sister who played volleyball on a club team. It wasn't quite as nationally competitive, but I was always the younger sister who tried to keep up with her. And she played college volleyball as well. So I'm going to give her a lot of credit that she kind of made a name for us. And then I was Elise's little sister, who was also pretty good. So that definitely helped pave the way for me.
Okay. And then you had this wheel, and it's still on your wall. That's really neat. And then let's go into Iowa. We're both University of Iowa grads. And so I enjoyed watching University of Iowa volleyball when I was going to school there. You were a 4-year captain, which is a really big deal. How did that happen? Because very competitive program, and all 4 years you were a captain. So you went from a class of 23 people to being the captain of a D1 Big Ten volleyball team. That's really incredible. How did that happen?
I think people reflect on leadership and what the best leaders are. And for me, it was always hardworking, right? And I come from an agricultural family. My dad's a rancher, right? We didn't take vacations. The cows had to eat on Christmas. And I've always been a really, really elite level worker. I didn't win the genetic lottery. I'm 5'8". I'm pretty athletic, obviously, but there's definitely people that are way more athletic than me, but nobody would ever outwork me. And so I think that was always a gift that I brought to any of my teams. And I think growing up in a small town, and I did a bunch of other sports and other clubs, and I had a lot of just confidence that I always had to be a leader. There's only 8 girls in my class, right? And so I never felt like I blended in or anything. You had a lot of spotlight on you in those small town situations. And so I don't know. I went into college and I wanted to really work. I'm really competitive, and I've just always had confidence that like I can do things. And I think my parents said, you can do anything, obviously. And so I walked in and said, I'm going to start, right? I'm going to lead, and I'm not going to be a shy little freshman. And so, that's how I've tried to walk into jobs too. And I can be a good follower. We talk about followership on our team a lot. But I also, when it's my turn to lead, I will work hard and I will be confident.
Explain this wheel a little bit more that's hanging on your wall. Like let's dive into that a little bit more. Like what, because that sounds like it's obviously really important to you. Tell us more about that. What does that look like?
It's funny because I tease my husband. There's only like 6 like life incidences on it, and go to college. At the time in 2nd grade, I loved swimming, and it said swim in college. And then it said be a sports coach. And then it said get married. And then it said die. And so now I got married. And so the only thing left I got to do, according to my 2nd grade self, is die. But it said 106. So I got a while until then.
Wow. Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that's there. So tell us about your mom, because I find that fascinating that your mom was the driving force behind that wheel that's now on your wall. And obviously you're thinking about these things at a younger age than most. So what does your mom do, and what kind of effect did she have?
She is a teacher principal.
Okay.
And so her whole life, I grew up in a family of educators. Her mom was a teacher. Their whole purpose is empowering kids to believe they can do anything. And so she just raised both me and my 2 siblings to think that way, and to constantly look for ways to grow and to be curious about education and critical thinking. And again, hard work is a really big pillar in our family. She works incredibly hard, as does my dad. So I feel very lucky to have great role models who loved their careers.
Right.
She loved teaching, and my dad loves ranching, but they work very hard at that.
Sure. And you had it mapped out. You got done at the University of Iowa, successful career. 4-year captain again. And then what? You knew you wanted to be a coach. So explain, how did you go from there to ending up as an assistant coach at CSU in, I believe, 2016?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I took a little pivot and I did investment banking for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I wanted a break from volleyball. Investment banking was a very shiny nickel to me, right? You get paid well and it's exciting. And so I did mergers and acquisitions for 2 years, and I missed volleyball a lot. And I think I have education in my heart, and I missed that component of feeling satisfied at the end of the day. And so I remember I quit investment banking. And when I was telling my managing director, I'm going to go do something else, he was like, how much do I got to pay you to stay? And I was like,
where was this at? Where was investment banking?
It was in Denver, at a firm that has since been acquired. But I was leaving investment banking to be a volunteer assistant at Oregon State. And the boss at Oregon State at the time, the head coach, was the 12-year Olympic coach, Terry Liskevich. And so I was leaving investment banking to go volunteer for the Mount Rushmore of college coaches, of volleyball coaches. And so obviously no money could convince me, because I was leaving for $0.
Sure.
But I had great mentorship at Oregon State. I met my husband there. I was very happy there. But when the job at CSU came open, the assistant job, my grandpa played football here. My dad and brother went here. I grew up in a Rams household. And so I had just gotten engaged, and we knew we wanted to raise our family close to family, like a lot of people. And what a great place to do it, in Fort Collins, at my whole family's alma mater, nationally competitive volleyball program. So it was kind of a no-brainer, and it was a hard discussion to tell the Beaver family that I was leaving, because I really did love them. But this was exactly where I wanted to raise my family and be within this volleyball program.
And let's dive into that a little bit. Why is that? Because I would imagine, in going out to Oregon, which is a beautiful place too, you're working for this legendary, in this legendary program for a legendary coach. You probably in your mind had it mapped out there, like what is working out here could have worked out there. I'm sure you knew that, felt that. Why, your Ram household, I get that, but it becomes about more things, right? It becomes about your family. It becomes about these types of things. What really about Fort Collins, what tugged you here? Outside of volleyball, like what really spoke to you? What really made you want to make that move?
Besides the personal bias that my family's here, and raising your kids close to grandparents and my sister, and the volleyball program, again, it's my job and it's my calling. I knew since 2nd grade. And so we were 9th in the country in attendance last year. And so this is one of the best volleyball atmospheres in the country. We've gone to 10 Sweet 16s. This is one of the best volleyball programs. So we were great at Oregon State. I had just left a Sweet 16 season to come here, and it's not necessarily a step up for volleyball, but then you think about the weather, and no offense, Oregon, but the weather in Colorado is incredible, and it's sunny, and Oregon also has a lot of things to do, but the seasonal depression can be real with the rain.
Sure.
So we have great weather here, and your bubble to drive to a whole bunch of other things is really great. So within a 5-hour bubble, you can do so many great activities. And the town of Fort Collins is a great size to raise a family. And again, I entered the phase that we are getting ready to get married and wanted to have kids. And it's a really clean, safe community to raise our kids, great schools. So it just made sense for us as a family move.
Now that makes sense. And so you have a family now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Son, daughter?
2 daughters. I have a 3-year-old Evie and a 1-year-old Sully. And they're both girls. And so my husband is surrounded with powerful women on powerful women because he also spends a lot of time with our team.
Sure.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. So what do you guys like to do as a family in Fort Collins? Like what is this is kind of, we're entering go time for you.
Yep.
I mean, the season is late August through November.
Yep.
So we're really entering kind of go time, but in the off season, you have a nice weekend. What are y'all doing?
A lot of outdoor stuff. The 3-year-old has been on skis many times. We go out on Horsetooth, the reservoir, and go boating. She got on the tube a couple weeks ago for the first time. The 3-year-old did. And so we just try to take advantage of all the outdoor activities. Mm-hmm. We still have our family ranch down in Swink. And so we go there and do the animal thing, ride the ATVs. That's really fun and special for her. But yeah, really just try to see and explore Colorado. It's a great outdoor state and try to take advantage of all those things.
Yeah, fun. And for those of you listening, Horsetooth Reservoir, 6-mile long reservoir, great for boating. You know, sounds like you guys did some boating there, hiking trails all around there as well. Super family friendly. Now let's swing back. So you go from Oregon to Colorado State, and this is 2016. This is not a volunteer position.
Yep.
This is a paid position.
Yep.
And then in 2019, you become not just an assistant coach, but the assistant to the head coach.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
And so you studying, being mentored, I should say, under legendary Tom Hilbert, who was the coach of the volleyball team for more than a quarter of a century. 26 years, an absolute legend. What was it like being mentored by him? We're starting in 2016.
I have had a very blessed set of mentors in volleyball, right? That I went from Terry Liskevich to Tom Hilbert, and both of them are Hall of Fame coaches. And again, you show up and you want to be humble. And my whole pitch is like, I'm going to work for you, right? Just make me do anything. You want me to staple things? I'm going to be a great stapler. But I learned a lot from Tom in the way he markets the program. He's built this program over his quarter century to again be this great attendance, and like you talked about, it's a beautiful environment and it's awesome for families, and our players are the best role models you could ever ask for your kids. They're great students and community members, and we are out volunteering at everything, and they're also very athletic, right, and good at volleyball. Sure. But we do a lot with kids in the community, and so I learned how to run a whole program from Tom beyond just coach volleyball. And it's a full business model, right? You are an event planner just as much as you are a volleyball coach with how we want to engage with the community. And but as he neared retirement, it was really wonderful to say, I want to prepare you for this, right? I want to prepare you to be able to take over. And he would take me to head coaches meetings, like our conference head coaches meetings. And I remember the first time he took me when we walked in and it was the other Mountain West head coaches there, like, uh-oh, we know what's coming.
Right.
And so then it started to be like, Tom's about ready to retire, and he's grooming Emily. And so I felt really lucky that I had a runway to ask a lot of questions and to prepare myself, because sometimes I think first time head coaches don't have that.
Right.
And he's still one of my best friends. We talk almost daily, and he runs our NIL collective now. And so in a new landscape of college athletics with NIL, he's still very involved with the program in another capacity. But we have a great relationship, and I'm forever indebted that I felt pretty prepared. I don't know if you're ever perfectly prepared for the transition when it did come.
You mentioned you had a whole model, and before we started kind of, turning on the microphones here and rolling, we were talking about the University of Iowa and you playing there. And I had gone to watch volleyball there, which, they had a great team, fun atmosphere, impressive athletes, all like checking all of these boxes. However, I mentioned to you that the first time I went to a CSU game, it was different. It was rocking. There isn't another sport that keeps our 5 and 7-year-old engaged I mean, I think they're just because people are just going nuts.
Yeah.
It's loud and they don't really know what they're clapping for most of the time, but they're just excited because everybody else is excited. The atmosphere is special. And then, the secret to that, is it just being involved in the community? Is it just, there's something there that CSU has that I don't think other places have. I mean, ninth in attendance, so top 10 in attendance last year, which is incredible. I wish they could measure like enthusiasm in the crowd, because I think maybe number one, right up there in the entire country. What if you mentioned some of the things that's an overall model, but how do you do that? Like, how is that accomplished there, and how do you keep that going?
Yeah, that's part of my challenge. I think volleyball in general as a sport is really high paced. There's a point every, on average, 7 seconds. Right. And so there's this rally and it scores and people cheer. And I think the pace of the sport, and people understand when the ball hits the ground, there's a point somewhere. Right. That's really fun for people. And it is a great environment for families. We've really tried to target that, Tom included. Bring your families, and especially, it used to be young daughters, but now boys volleyball is growing too. Colorado passed high school boys volleyball a couple of years ago, and we just did a camp this weekend and we had 65 boys at it.
Wow.
And so now it used to be like, let's get your daughters to the game. And now I've had to change my narrative a little bit of like, let's just get your kids to the game because boys love it too.
How young can you be as a boy to get into one of these camps?
We do camps in the fall, as young as kindergarten.
I'm getting my kindergartner.
He's
going to be in first grade, but I'm getting him in.
Yeah. And so we do the really tiny camps after our game, 1 hour. They don't want to play for a long time.
Sure.
We use balloons sometimes. Again, I have a 3-year-old and she plays in these things, and you go and you hit the balloon instead of a ball, and we do some fun things with the young ones. And then we have various camps throughout the year that go up to high schoolers, 12th graders, right? But we really do try to expose every age in Fort Collins to volleyball and get you excited about it. And our girls are just phenomenal. And we say this, the Ram way of engaging with the community, that when these kids show up, they're high-fiving, and the shirts we make that we give to the campers, they have a autograph section. Get every girl's autograph. And so they run around and have to interact with all the girls. And we just get so many pieces of great feedback from parents that are like, the girls were so awesome to my kid. And like, then it makes the kid excited to show up and cheer for those people.
Makes their day.
Yeah.
That is, these girls are 6'7", like you mentioned. These are elite athletes taking time out of their day. Well, that's really neat. I didn't know they did all that. I am for real going to sign my son up for, I think he'll absolutely love that. He's going into first grade.
And it's free.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. Oh, that's great. The energy there is incredible. So the community, that's, you'd say, one of the main secrets to kind of just making that happen. And then I guess success too, right?
Right.
The team has been successful. It's I know it's been one of the, top ranked team, top 25 for a while now.
Yeah.
Right. So people, when you go to these games, you're seeing like top competition, not just a great atmosphere, not just enthusiasm, excited fans, but you're seeing top level competition.
Right. And I think because Moby Arena, and we call it Moby Magic, there's this Moby Magic that the whole country of volleyball knows about. There's some really top teams that get excited to come in and play in front of that crowd, because even at the Blue Blood brand institutions, right, they might not even get that type of support for volleyball. And so this coming season, we have Florida, Oregon, CU, Notre Dame, Creighton, and they get excited to come here. Like last year, we beat number 10 Kentucky.
I remember.
And when Craig Skinner, the head coach, was walking out and we shake hands, he was like, this is unbelievable. We had 8,000 people there. They're all wearing white. And that's a big reason why we can have those kind of, I'm going to call them upsets, but at this point, right, they're not always upsets.
Right.
Moby Arena is a really tough place to play, and all around the country, people respect that and they want to have their kids play in front of it, which I think is really fun.
Sure. Well, it sounds like Craig Skinner was a great sport.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
good to hear. What game are you most excited about this year?
Always CU. CU is always a huge rivalry, right? The in-state rivalry. Our whiteout game this year is against University of Florida, and the whiteout is one of college volleyball's best traditions.
This is early in the season.
It's our first real game. We have an exhibition game before then, but the whiteout is always a pretty incredible. Again, everybody's in white. People know what it means in our community, and people get excited to show up. And we usually have a premier opponent. Florida will be ranked in the top 25. So let's show them what Moby Magic is all about.
I love it. And I will put in the show notes, the details for that game, guiding people to where they can get tickets. And I'll reiterate this in the show notes as well. Where can people go to get tickets, season tickets, individual tickets? I'm sure this is the website, but where can I direct them?
For sure. Yeah. The CSURams.com website with all the sports does have a ticket link on it. And there's some great promotions that run for various different games, or if you want to do mini plans. And it's pretty consistent that if you come to one, you get hooked and you start being like, all right, how do I come to more? And then you buy season tickets. And so we fish hook you in.
Well, the kids too, I think, having friends who have kids who are a little bit older, especially junior high school, they are, the parents are enjoying it. I mean, I'm clearly enjoying it. Sarah, who is a super fan of yours, clearly enjoying it. However, the kids, I think, are just what I've heard from other friends is, they enjoy it so much that they're really getting their parents to not just get tickets for it. It starts out with a game, to your point, a game, maybe two games. Maybe they go see the whiteout game against Florida, maybe the CU game, but it quickly turns into season tickets. So we will put that link. We will put all of those details in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, check out the show notes. Get your tickets. Getting into the season now, like what are some of the challenges? I mean, what are some of the things that, it's kind of it's intense. To your point a little bit ago, I can't remember if we were talking about this before or after we started rolling, but the intensity, the pace, everything is just go, go, go. And starts, the season. I mean, there's an off season. There's a lot. You guys are doing a lot in the off season, not just in the community training. Right. I mean, your job is clearly year round, but once you hit August, it starts going into hyperdrive, and it stays in hyperdrive for a while. Yep. I mean, we're talking months and months. So, and what are some of the challenges? And what are some of the things that you have to overcome?
I think always, like you're talking about, the pace and the minimal time off once August comes for both coaches and players of managing burnout, right? They are 18 to 22-year-olds and they love their sport, but how do you manage physical burnout, right? And not overwork them, especially as they get older. Like we call them the old ladies. We have 5 fifth-year starters next year, and they're 23 and they've been playing volleyball for a long time, and those knees and shoulders don't feel the same. And so managing health, but also managing just mental burnout to make sure, more is not always more. Sometimes less is more. And so can we give them breaks? We as a staff, we all have families too. So when do we spend time with our families and not live in the office? And, that's part of our industry. And, it's important to me. I'm a young mom, right? I got those 2 littles. We bring our kids around a lot to do that, right? Sure. Sometimes I can't take days off, but my kids can travel to away games with me, or they can come to practice and run around in the corner. And I think it's important that they see me working, right? I watched my parents work hard, and I think that that's important that they see me working. And I'm lucky to have a job where it's okay to do that. So those are really big. We call them big rocks in our office of when we talk about calendaring and scheduling, and you want to have fun, but people also need a break from each other. And so how do we balance and walk that line with everything?
Right. I mean, you and your husband, when you are taking a break, which you need to do throughout the season, it's so intense. Where do you like to go for a date night? We're sitting here in beautiful Old Town, Fort Collins. You can see it just right out the window here. It's just, walking distance from campus, basically. Short drive. But where do you like to go? Like when you two have some time, what are your favorite spots?
We love Penrose. We go to Penrose a lot. They're also big supporters of our program, so we try to give back to that. But he's from Alaska. My husband's from Alaska. And so he's funny about any kind of seafood in a landlocked state. And so, my dad is a cattle rancher, so we also try to eat like a lot of beef places. So we like Penrose.
Penrose is a great burger.
They have great stuff. Yeah. We like stuffed. We like going to Nick's for Italian food. We live on the north side of Fort Collins, the like agricultural non-suburb side. So we kind of stay in Old Town more than the southern and over by Harmony.
Okay. No, that sounds great. What about some other spots? What about coffee, brunch? You have friends, visiting, we get that a lot here, at least, being from the Midwest. I still have a lot of friends back in Iowa. They love to come out here. It's just, except for maybe the month of October in Iowa, like the other months are kind of hot, humid, or really, really cold. So they come into town and we have our spots. Where do you like to show your friends? what's something that your friends cannot leave town without doing when they come to visit?
Definitely Horsetooth. Sure. Even when it's snowy, we drive people up there, and we do like car meals sometimes. So if it's nice out, obviously getting out on the water, paddleboarding, boating, hiking, right, is really great back there. We put the baby on the backpack and go hiking, and do a lot of that. So Horsetooth is really great. I think Paddler's Pub is a hidden gem, right? Over by LaPorte. Take your kids there, take your dog there, the outdoor beach court. So we do a lot of Paddler's Pub. We live close to it, but I also just think it's the best views of any bar, right? You can actually see the mountains. And so that's a really fun place for families to get to go to. And the brewery scene, right? That's pretty fun in Fort Collins, and doing the little brewery crawl and seeing Odell's and New Belgium and any of them. There's 100 of them now, right? That it's really fun to do the brewery scene and crawl around.
Fun. I ask everyone that question on the show. You're the first person to throw out Paddler's Pub. Great one.
Don't go there.
Yeah. Pro tip, maybe if you're going in the evening, bring some bug spray for the ankles. But it's amazing. Yeah. It's like this, if you want to add something onto that, if it's a weekend day or if you have a day off, the summer months, you can book one of 3 different groups and take a whitewater rafting trip. Yeah. And they have the friends are always like, I don't know about that, but there's the beginner trip and there's the more advanced trip. You can kind of choose your own adventure there. Yep. But then when you're done with this amazing whitewater excursion, you can Paddler's Pub is right there. Yep. So you can enjoy that. And it's just open and views and maybe the most relaxing kind of nature atmosphere of any place that I've ever been, let alone just in Fort Collins. So. For sure. And it's huge, right? They have a full football field that you can go play on. And so that's just really fun. We've done a lot of trips where we take the whitewater group up, right? And then you end there and you bring the kids over, and again, they let you bring your own food. They let you bring your dogs. Like, it is the greatest picnic area, I think. And just a really unique, I've never been to any place like it. So yeah, that's a great one. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Well, people listening to this, they can get tickets to support CSU volleyball, of course. And I think they want to go see the games. If you haven't, you got to go check it out. What are some other ways they can support you? Is there anything else they can do? Can they go buy T-shirts? Can they go? Is there anything else they can do, or is it really just show up to the games?
We love showing up to the games. We have a booster club that is really involved, and there's the financial component to a booster club, right? That you can join as small as $150 level, but within the booster club I call it filling the room. We have all these events, and it's really awesome to see people that are passionate about our sport that show up, and our players build relationships with them. And, whether you're retired and it just becomes, that's like a big group of our booster club, or people that are retired and they love doing any of our events, whether it's, we do a weekly coaches show at Penrose, where on Tuesday nights in the season, I go and people show up and they learn about volleyball and meet a couple of the players that come. Or
what time does that start on Tuesdays?
Tuesdays at 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
So that's really fun. Just show up at our things, right? And get to know us as people, both coaches and players. And you also learn about volleyball. And sometimes people are like, wait, there's an offense in volleyball and you guys are strategic about it. They think about backyard volleyball. And so at those coaches shows, right, we educate on some aspect of our game, usually coming up, like if we're playing an opponent with a really great opposite, here's how we try to stop opposites. And then some people even raise their hand like, what's an opposite? So, I think filling the room, and there's also financial support, are both cool ways that we like to engage with the community.
We'll put that in the show notes as well. Yeah. Tuesdays, and this is just during the season, Tuesdays, 5 p.m., the Penrose Tap House and Eatery in Old Town. Yep. Actually, my last interview was with Gerard Boyle, the founder of that restaurant. So would love for people to show up to that. Yeah. I will show up to that. That sounds really, really fun. It is fun. I love your comment too about, the volleyball people. Yeah. The first time I went to see volleyball, it is, in case you haven't, there might be some people listening that just haven't seen it at this level. Yep. It is so much different than backyard volleyball. The strategy, it's like a chess match. Just seeing these girls flying around. I don't know what their verticals are, but they're high. Yep. In the strategic, how they reset for every point and jump. And it's just, there's just so much to follow there. Sure. And to your point a second ago, so much to learn. I'd like to show up on Tuesdays. I'll probably have some questions so I can maybe understand what I'm watching. I'm entertained by the athletic prowess, but there's a lot more to it, I know. So. Definitely. Yeah. We have, the basketball rim, to give people a reference, is 10 feet high. And so when our players do their spike approach and jump, the measurement, one of the measurements in volleyball, is how high do you have a jump approach on? And we have had players at 10 and a half,
So a whole foot above the basketball rim when they jump up and spike the ball. And so, yeah, they are incredibly athletic.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. I mean, going back to you for a minute too. So the last coach we mentioned, Tom, over a quarter of a century. Is that your goal? I mean, did you ever do another wheel after the one, is what's next?
I'm really happy where I'm at right now. Again, I love this program. I love my culture of my team. I love Fort Collins, and this was the dream. And so I'm just trying to soak it in and, year by year, say like, yep, this is exactly what I want to do. The NCAA landscape is changing so quickly. So even casual fans might know like conference realignment and the word like NIL is a thing, right? And it's about ready to shift again in another year where players will probably be more of an employee model rather than a student athlete model. And so the environment that Tom coached in is going to be very different. And me and Tom talk about this than what my head coaching environment will be like over the next 20 years. Right. And I hope I still enjoy it. Right. I hope I still enjoy coaching volleyball and empowering women when that landscape does change so drastically. But I'm trying to ready myself and my expectations that like life's about to be different in the next few years. Yeah.
Very different. I think no one really knows the full implications.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are learning as they go. I think it's fascinating. And maybe people that listen to this will be fascinated to hear how involved Tom still is.
Yeah.
Just on a different side of things. And having having your mentor still here.
Yeah.
Available just in a different capacity. That has to be exciting to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, now we're really good friends. I call us an odd couple. And we do things outside of volleyball where we hang out with each other, and his wife is really lovely and his wife and my husband get along really well. So, I know he's 30 years older than I am, but we and our families do get along really well and spend a lot of time together.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Colorado State University is so lucky to have you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think it's an inspirational story that people will listen to. There's kind of a story, and I got this when I was just reading up on you a little bit prior to this interview. But there's patience, there's having a plan, there's working hard, but then there's patience. Like you were patient, and that's maybe something these days you don't see as much of with some young people. And it's just a really what a great example to set for the women that you're coaching, for the players on your team. I think it's really very impressive.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone's ever called me patient before, so I'll take that as a compliment. And I'm always very loyal, right? I've been very loyal to my bosses, and I still have great relationships with the investment banking boss, right? And my Oregon State boss and Tom. But man, I've never fancied myself as patient, so I'll take that. Yeah.
I think just driven, sure, all of those things, but you knew what you wanted.
Definitely.
And I just you went to Oregon as a volunteer.
Yep.
Leaving the money, leaving all the things. So that to me says, well, there's some patience there. Like I want to get what I want, and I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to be patient. And then going to CSU, where you already had this amazing training. Quite frankly, not very many people have on their resume 4-time team captain, Division I Big Ten school.
Thanks.
So you're bringing all this to the table, and you went for the zero pay volunteer position because you wanted to have the best mentorship. Yeah. And then the opportunity came up at Colorado State, and this is 2016. And in this world where people want it now, social media, you still were patient. You just worked. You just kept working. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022. And then it was time. And so just congratulations on all of your success.
Thanks.
I can't wait to get out there with my family. I'll wave, and hopefully you remember me. You'll see little Nolan, he's 7, and Ada, our girl, she's 5, almost 6. We're going to be there. Nolan's going to be in camp, and Ada is close to being old enough to be in camp also. So we'll get our kids in those camps. I'll also put in the show notes some information if others want to get their kids involved in these camps. And everybody, please go check out the volleyball game. You won't be disappointed. Emily, thank you again for being here. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, go Rams.
All right, go Rams.